And then finally, when he read the tea leaves, he was one and done, and he made one last gasp in trying to run for re-election off the failure of Andrew Cuomo to run a campaign against Zoran Montgomery. Remember, June 24th,
right.
Cuomo threw in the towel, said, no mas, no mas. And so all of a sudden, Eric Adams was revived. And Randy Mastro, the deputy mayor, was saying, this is what you got to do. Reinvent yourself. Everything you said before, undo it. And he issued that letter, and we all stood in that sweltering heat outside of City Hall. And remember, I had a wool beret, so it was,
Yep.
I was schwitzing. And I remember reading the letter, and I remember that line, at this time. And I said, oh, this is what we call tricknology. At this time, how about for all time? And how about for reimbursing all the expenses that people had to pool their resources in order to keep going in and challenging again and again? So I don't trust any of these politicians. Any of you who've ever heard me publicly before or on talk radio for 35 years, you remember the promotion of my show was Curtis Sliwa says, trust no politicians. I trust the people. And so the people spoke, and they've continued to speak, and we need to keep the traditional Medicare plan. And to me, it was so obvious. We found $7 billion from migrants that we didn't even know, who got the best.
Tell you how much worse this gets, that maybe said there's a new thing that you don't know. So the city of New York had been using a fund called the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund. It's known to have been misused by both the Municipal Labor Committee and several mayors past. This fund actually paid for the welfare fund benefits for our widows, widowers, and our children's funds. These are people who lost their loved ones in the line of duty, mostly police and fire, but others as well, like EMS, some corrections, sanitation, etc. And the cost to their welfare fund benefits is approximately $3 million a year. That's it. I want you to know that right now, the city of New York told the Municipal Labor Committee, because that fund has no money in it, that the unions would have to finance the cost of the widows and children's welfare fund benefits. Welfare fund is prescription, vision, and dental. It's a small cost, but small cost to the city in the grand scheme of things of $120 million annual budget. The unions will never be able to finance that. Never. It's extremely expensive. Unions only make what they get in union dues. And because city headcount is down, the unions their dues collection is also down, and they won't be able to fund that. Think about fire, police. The fire department had 340 active firefighters that had passed away. One priest, father judge, and 2 paramedics. So 343 people altogether. To put out of the firefighters and fire officers welfare fund that almost full $3 million is impossible. And the city of New York told the MLC as of the end of November, they will no longer be paying for that. So there's a need. I'm letting you know that today, because if you become mayor on January 1st, you're going to need to help the unions take care of this one issue that no one has addressed, not even Mayor Adams.
Well, thank you for enlightening me. I never declared in this campaign or the previous campaign that I was all-knowing, omnipotent. That's why I would have to surround myself with people knowledgeable in all these areas who could bring to my attention and then obviously say, okay, we know there's a lot of waste in this budget that's growing. Let's start cutting the waste and finding the money. But in the vernacular that I would typically hear, as you described it, Marianne, if you spoke Yiddish, this would be a shanda. If you spoke Italian, this would be disgraziata. They can't find the money to sustain this. They find money for everything else. And I just go back to the migrant issue.